This audiobook is about why love becomes confusing instead of safe. It is about the moments when you feel guilty for speaking, anxious for needing, and small for being yourself. Emotional sabotage is not loud. It is subtle, familiar, and repetitive. You are not broken. You are conditioned. Today, we slow down, tell the truth, and begin again, not by fixing yourself, but by remembering who you are beneath the pattern. Chapter 1. Stop confusing intensity with love. Intensity is not intimacy. Read that again. Intensity is not intimacy. This is one of the most important distinctions you will ever learn if you want healthy relationships. And it is one of the hardest to accept. Because intensity feels powerful. It feels alive. It feels meaningful. It feels like something is happening. But intensity is not the same thing as connection. Intensity is fast. Intimacy is steady. Intensity is urgent. Intimacy is grounded. Intensity spikes your nervous system. Intimacy soothes it. That's the key. Many people confuse intensity with love because intensity is familiar. Chaos feels like home when that's what you were trained in. Emotional unpredictability feels like chemistry when your system learned to equate love with effort, anxiety, and anticipation. You didn't choose that consciously. You adapted. If love was inconsistent, you learned to stay alert. If love was conditional, you learned to perform. If love came with withdrawal or punishment, you learned to chase closeness. That chase creates intensity. And intensity can feel intoxicating. High highs, low lows. Relief followed by fear. Connection followed by distance. That cycle does not create bonding. It creates addiction. Emotional highs and lows wire your nervous system to crave relief. You're not bonding to the person. You're bonding to the pattern. The moment of reconnection after distance. The apology after tension. The reassurance after doubt. That's not love. That's regulation. You are using the relationship to regulate your nervous system. And when that's happening, you lose clarity. You start calling anxiety passion. You start calling unpredictability excitement. You start calling emotional volatility depth. That's how emotional sabotage begins. When love feels urgent, unstable, or consuming, pause and breathe. That pause matters because urgency is a signal. Instability is a signal. Consumption is a signal. Love does not rush you. Love does not destabilize you. Love does not require you to abandon yourself to prove devotion. If you feel like you're always on edge, always waiting, always monitoring, something is wrong. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Calm can feel unfamiliar when you were trained to earn love. That's the part no one warns you about. When you encounter something healthy, it may not spark fireworks. It may not trigger obsession. It may not activate longing. It may feel quiet. And that quiet can feel empty at first because your system is detoxing from intensity. Peace can feel like boredom when your baseline has been chaos. But say this with me. Peace is not boredom. Peace is safety. Again, peace is not boredom. Peace is safety. That's the key. Safety doesn't spike your adrenaline. Safety doesn't keep you guessing. Safety doesn't make you prove your worth. Safety allows you to rest. And rest can feel strange when you've spent your life bracing. So many people leave healthy relationships not because they lack love, but because their nervous system mistakes calm for disinterest. They think, if I'm not anxious, it must not matter. That belief keeps you trapped. You have a choice. You can continue chasing intensity, or you can begin choosing stability. But first, you must stop romanticizing chaos. Chaos does not mean passion. Chaos does not mean depth. Chaos does not mean destiny. Chaos means your system is dysregulated. That's not a moral failure. It's a biological response. But if you don't recognize it, you'll keep confusing activation with attraction. You'll keep leaning toward people who withhold, people who confuse, people who create uncertainty. Because uncertainty keeps you engaged. Engaged does not mean loved. Say that again. Engaged does not mean loved. Love does not keep you in suspense. Love does not test your endurance. Love does not require you to suffer to be chosen. You don't need their permission to slow down. You don't need their permission to ask, "Why does this feel so unstable?" You don't need their permission to choose peace. That's the key. When intensity shows up, don't judge it, observe it. Ask yourself, do I feel calm or activated? Do I feel grounded or preoccupied? Do I feel more myself or less? Your body knows the answer before your mind catches up. If you feel anxious, contracted, hyper-focused, pause, breathe. That pause interrupts the pattern. And interruption is where choice lives. You have a choice. You can stop chasing the emotional high. You can stop romanticizing the emotional low. You can stop calling survival chemistry. That doesn't mean you reject passion. It means you redefine it. Real passion grows from safety. Real desire thrives in consistency. Real connection deepens over time, not through drama. That truth may challenge everything you learned. That's okay. Learning something new often feels like loss before it feels like freedom. As this chapter closes, hold this takeaway clearly. If love feels chaotic, it is not because you are loving deeply. It is because something is unsafe. Peace is not boredom. Peace is safety. In the next chapter, we will look at what often keeps people stuck in intense, confusing relationships, long after they sense something is wrong. Guilt. Borrowed guilt. Unspoken guilt. Guilt that was never yours to carry. And once you see how guilt operates, you'll understand why intensity has had such a hold on you, and how to loosen it. You have a choice. And this is where that choice becomes clearer. Chapter 2. Notice the guilt that isn't yours. Emotional sabotage often begins with guilt. Not loud guilt, not obvious guilt, but quiet, creeping guilt. The kind that shows up when you think about speaking honestly and immediately feel bad. The kind that rises when you consider saying no and feel selfish before you even finish the thought. The kind that convinces you that protecting yourself will somehow harm someone else. That guilt is rarely yours. That's the key. Borrowed guilt is one of the most powerful tools of emotional sabotage. It doesn't need threats. It doesn't need control. It works because you care. And because you carry what was never meant to be yours. You feel responsible for other people's moods, for their reactions, for their discomfort, for their disappointment. You walk into a room and scan the emotional temperature. You adjust your tone. You soften your words. You preemptively apologize. Not because you did something wrong, but because someone else might feel something uncomfortable. That's not empathy. That's conditioning. You learned at some point that harmony depended on you managing emotions that weren't yours to manage. Maybe conflict was punished. Maybe withdrawal followed honesty. Maybe love became uncertain when you asserted yourself. So you adapted. You learned to carry guilt as a way to stay connected. But here is the truth you need to hear clearly. Guilt becomes a leash when you believe saying no is harmful. Read that again. Guilt becomes a leash when you believe saying no is harmful. That belief keeps you trapped. Because every boundary feels like betrayal. Every pause feels like abandonment. Every honest truth feels like cruelty. And so you keep saying yes when your body says no. You keep staying when your energy is gone. You keep explaining when silence would be clearer. That's how self-abandonment becomes normal. But true compassion does not require self-abandonment. That's the key. Compassion includes you. If your version of kindness requires you to disappear, it's not kindness. It's fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of rejection. Fear of being seen as difficult. And fear is persuasive. Fear says, just this once. Fear says, it's not worth the tension. Fear says, they didn't mean it, and maybe they didn't. But intention does not erase impact. And impact is what your body feels. Notice how borrowed guilt feels in your body. It feels heavy, contracted, pressing down on your chest. It does not feel clean. It does not feel clarifying. It does not feel like relief. Healthy guilt is brief and specific. It points to repair. Borrowed guilt is vague and endless. It points to submission. That's the difference. You have a choice. You can continue carrying emotions that are not yours, or you can begin returning them. Returning guilt does not require confrontation. It requires clarity. Clarity sounds like, this is uncomfortable, but it's not wrong. They are allowed to feel disappointed. I am not responsible for managing their emotions. You don't need their permission to release what doesn't belong to you. Say that again. You don't need their permission. This is where many people get stuck. They wait for understanding, for validation, for approval. But borrowed guilt does not dissolve through explanation. It dissolves through boundary, through the quiet decision to stop carrying. Repeat this phrase until it settles. I can care without carrying. Again. I can care without carrying. You can care about someone's feelings without absorbing them. You can care about the relationship without sacrificing yourself. You can care and still say no. That's maturity. That's emotional adulthood. If someone becomes angry, distant, or hurt when you assert a boundary, that does not mean the boundary was wrong. It means the dynamic is changing. And change always creates discomfort. You have a choice. You can retreat back into guilt to restore familiarity. Or you can tolerate the discomfort of growth. Growth feels shaky at first. Your body may panic. Your mind may question you. Old voices may say, you're being selfish. That's conditioning talking. Let it talk. You don't have to obey it. Notice how often guilt shows up before clarity, before you even assess what you want, before you even check in with yourself. That's not conscience. That's habit. And habits can be unlearned. Start small. Notice the moment guilt appears. Pause. Breathe. Ask one simple question, is this mine to carry? Often the answer is no. As this chapter closes, hold this takeaway firmly. Guilt is not proof that you are wrong. It is often proof that you are changing. I can care without carrying. In the next chapter, we will look at what many people do once guilt is triggered. They explain, they justify, they over-communicate. And we will talk about why explaining yourself to people who benefit from confusion keeps you stuck, and how to stop. You have a choice. And noticing borrowed guilt is where that choice becomes real. Chapter 3. Stop explaining yourself to people who benefit from confusion. Over-explaining is not clarity. Say that again. Over-explaining is not clarity. It feels like clarity. It sounds like responsibility. It looks like maturity. But most of the time, it's fear. Over-explaining is a trauma response, not a communication skill. That's the key. You explain because somewhere along the way, you learned that being understood was a requirement for being safe. You learned that if you could just say it the right way, soft enough, thorough enough, careful enough, you could prevent conflict, abandonment, or punishment. So you learned to talk more when things felt unstable, to justify your feelings, to walk people through your internal process, step by step, not because you wanted to, but because you were afraid of what would happen if you didn't. And manipulation thrives in that space. Manipulation thrives when conversations never resolve, when nothing ever lands, when clarity keeps slipping, when every explanation becomes another debate. You say how you feel. They question it. You explain more. They deflect, minimize, or reinterpret. And before you know it, you are no longer talking about the original issue. You are defending your right to feel. That's not dialogue. That's erosion. Your energy drains. Your confidence shrinks. Your inner voice gets quieter. And confusion becomes normal. That's the trap. The need to be understood can keep you trapped. Read that slowly. The need to be understood can keep you trapped, because when someone benefits from confusion, understanding is never the goal. Control is. Control of the narrative, control of timing, control of emotional ground. They don't say, "I don't want to understand." They say, "I'm just confused." They say, "That's not what I meant." They say, "You're being unclear." And suddenly the burden is back on you. To explain better, to try harder, to make it make sense. But grounded truth does not argue, it stands. That's the key. Truth does not chase approval. Truth does not need to convince. Truth does not contort itself to be palatable. Grounded truth sounds simple. This doesn't work for me. I'm not available for that. I've made my decision, and when you say something grounded, something interesting happens. People who respect you may feel disappointed, but they adjust. People who benefit from confusion push back. They question, they provoke, they reframe. That's not a signal to explain more. That's a signal to stop. You have a choice. You can continue feeding the conversation, or you can end it. Ending a conversation does not require agreement. Ending a conversation requires clarity. And clarity is internal before it is external. Before you speak, ask yourself, am I sharing, or am I trying to be understood? If you are trying to be understood, pause. Because the moment you need understanding from someone who refuses to give it, you give them power. You don't need their permission to be clear. Say that again. You don't need their permission. Over-explaining is often driven by the hope that this time it will land. That this time they will see you. That this time clarity will fix everything. But clarity cannot fix a dynamic that relies on confusion. That's the hard truth. Manipulation does not collapse when you explain better. It collapses when you stop participating. That doesn't mean you become cold or cruel. It means you become anchored. Clarity does not chase approval. Repeat it. Clarity does not chase approval. Notice how your body feels when you stop explaining. There may be fear. There may be guilt. There may be a strong urge to add one more sentence. That urge is conditioning. You don't have to follow it. Silence, when grounded, is not avoidance. Silence is a boundary. You can state your truth once. You can repeat it once. And then you can stop. That's not shutdown. That's self-respect. As this chapter closes, hold this takeaway. If you have to keep explaining, the issue is not clarity, it's consent. Consent to be confused. Consent to stay in the loop. Consent to keep abandoning yourself. You have a choice. In the next chapter, we will look at another disguise emotional sabotage wears. Concern, advice, care, and we will talk about how control often hides behind good intentions. Clarity does not chase approval, and neither do you. Chapter 4. Recognize control disguised as concern. Control rarely announces itself. It doesn't say, "I want power over you." It says, "I'm just trying to help." It says, "I'm worried about you." It says, "I know what's best." That's the danger. Control often wears the mask of protection, advice, or love. That's the key. Because when control looks like care, you stop questioning it. You start doubting yourself instead. At first, it feels supportive, attentive, engaged. They have opinions about your choices. They comment on your timing. They question your decisions for your own good. And slowly, almost invisibly, something shifts. You begin to hesitate before acting. You check in before deciding. You second-guess your instincts, not because you're unsure, but because you've been trained to be. You begin to question your preferences, your pace, your needs. You start asking yourself, am I being unreasonable? Am I overreacting? Maybe they're right. That's how control works when it's subtle. It doesn't overpower you. It replaces you. Subtle control sounds reasonable, but feels constricting. Pay attention to that feeling, because your body knows long before your mind admits it. Your body tightens. Your chest contracts. Your energy drops. You feel smaller, slower, less spontaneous. But your mind rationalizes. They care, they just want the best for me. They're more experienced. That rationalization keeps you stuck. Because control does not need to be cruel to be damaging. It just needs you to stop trusting yourself. That's the key. Your body senses what your mind rationalizes. Say that again. Your body senses what your mind rationalizes. If something consistently feels limiting, draining, or suppressive, it doesn't matter how logical it sounds. Care expands you. Control contains you. Care invites choice. Control narrows options. Care respects your autonomy. Control questions it. You have a choice. You can keep overriding your body to preserve harmony. Or you can start listening. Listening doesn't mean reacting. It means noticing. Notice how often advice feels like pressure. Notice how often concern feels like correction. Notice how often help comes with strings. Real care does not rush you. Real care does not manage you. Real care does not make you feel incompetent. And here is a hard truth many people avoid. If someone needs you to be smaller, slower, quieter, or less independent for the relationship to feel safe, that is not love. That's insecurity expressed as control. And you are not required to shrink to soothe someone else's fear. You don't need their permission to move at your own pace. You don't need their permission to trust your instincts. You don't need their permission to say, "This doesn't feel right to me." That's the key. Control often escalates when questioned. When you assert yourself, the tone may change. Concern becomes frustration. Advice becomes criticism. Love becomes conditional. That shift is revealing. Because healthy care can tolerate difference. Control cannot. When you stop complying, the disguise slips, and that moment can be unsettling. You may feel guilty. You may feel selfish. You may feel afraid of losing connection. But connection that requires compliance is not connection. It's containment. Repeat this phrase until it settles in your body. If it costs my freedom, it is not care. Again, if it costs my freedom, it is not care. Freedom does not mean absence of commitment. It means presence of choice. It means you get to be yourself without negotiation. As this chapter closes, hold this takeaway firmly. When something feels constricting, don't explain it away. Don't minimize it. Don't intellectualize it. Listen, because your body is telling you the truth. In the next chapter, we will talk about what happens when control has done its work. When you begin to shrink yourself to keep the relationship, and why stopping that self-erasure is not selfish. It's essential. You have a choice. And recognizing control is how you begin to take it back. Chapter 5. Stop shrinking to keep the relationship shrinking rarely feels dramatic. It doesn't feel like betrayal in the moment. It feels like adjustment. Compromise, maturity. You tell yourself, this is what relationships require. But emotional sabotage trains you to be quieter, softer, less. Not all at once. Not obviously, but steadily. You speak a little less. You ask for a little less. You want a little less. Until one day you realize you've been living at half volume. That's the cost. You abandon needs to preserve harmony. And harmony becomes the justification for self-erasure. You stop bringing things up because it's not worth it. You let things slide because you're tired of the tension. You lower your expectations to keep the peace. But peace that requires you to disappear is not peace. It's suppression. And suppression always has a price. Shrinking creates resentment. It creates numbness. It creates fatigue. Your body carries what your voice does not. You feel drained for no clear reason. You feel distant from yourself. You feel oddly irritable or empty. That's not random. That's the accumulated weight of unmet needs. Needs don't vanish when you ignore them. They turn inward. And when they turn inward, they become self-blame. Why am I unhappy? Why am I so tired? What's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. You are disappearing to belong. And belonging should never require that. Love does not require self-erasure. Say that again. Love does not require self-erasure. Real love expands you. It invites your fullness. It can tolerate your truth. If a relationship only works when you are smaller, that relationship is not aligned with your well-being. That's the key. You have a choice. You can keep shrinking to preserve the relationship, or you can let the relationship be tested by your wholeness. That choice feels terrifying for many people, because somewhere along the way, you learned that being fully yourself was dangerous. Maybe it led to withdrawal. Maybe it led to criticism. Maybe it led to abandonment. So you learned to preemptively disappear. But here's the truth that reclaims your power. You do not disappear to belong. Say it out loud. I do not disappear to belong. Again. I do not disappear to belong. Belonging that requires self-negation is not belonging. It's survival. And survival is not the goal anymore. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to have needs. You are allowed to change. You don't need their permission to grow. When you stop shrinking, some relationships will change. Some may deepen. Some may strain. Some may end. That's not failure, that's alignment. Relationships that depend on your silence cannot survive your voice. And that truth, while painful, is liberating. As this chapter closes, hold this takeaway. Every time you shrink, you teach yourself that your needs are negotiable. Every time you stay whole, you teach yourself that you matter. In the next chapter, we will shift from the external to the internal. We will talk about the one guide that never lies, but is often ignored. Your body. You have a choice. And choosing not to shrink is choosing yourself. Chapter 6. Trust the signals of your body. Your body knows before your mind explains. That's the truth. Long before you have the words. Long before you can justify or rationalize. Your body registers what is happening. The body registers truth before language forms. That's the key. A tightening in the chest, a knot in the stomach, a shallow breath, a sudden wave of fatigue. These are not random sensations. They are messages. Tightness, anxiety, and exhaustion are messages, not flaws. Say that again. They are messages, not flaws. But emotional sabotage teaches you to override those messages, to explain them away, to minimize them, to call them sensitivity, weakness, overreaction. You say, I'm just tired. You say, I'm being dramatic. You say, it's probably nothing. And slowly, you disconnect. Emotional sabotage disconnects you from inner knowing. That disconnection is not accidental. When you stop trusting your body, you become easier to manage, easier to persuade, easier to keep in confusing dynamics. Because your body is inconvenient. It reacts when something is off. It tightens when boundaries are crossed. It withdraws when something feels unsafe. So you were taught not to listen. You were taught to endure. But endurance is not wisdom. Your body is wise. Say it with me. My body is wise, I listen. Again, my body is wise, I listen. Listening does not mean panic. It does not mean impulsive action. It means presence. Presence is where clarity returns. Returning to the breath restores clarity. When you breathe slowly and deeply, you bring your attention back into the body. Out of the stories. Out of the justifications. Breath interrupts reactivity. Try this now. Slow your breath. Feel your feet. Notice your jaw. Notice your shoulders. Nothing to fix. Just notice. The body speaks in sensation, not accusation. It doesn't judge, it signals. And when you listen consistently, something shifts. You stop questioning yourself so much. You stop pushing past your limits. You stop staying where your body says no. You have a choice. You can continue overriding your body. Or you can begin trusting it. Trust builds slowly. It starts with small moments. Noticing when you tense during a conversation. Noticing when your energy drops around certain people. Noticing when relief arrives in silence. Those moments matter. They are information, and information gives you options. When you trust your body, you stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "What is happening in me right now?" That question brings you back to yourself. And being with yourself is the foundation of every healthy boundary. As this chapter closes, hold this takeaway. Your body has been telling you the truth all along. Listening is not weakness, it is wisdom. In the next chapter, we will address one of the hardest releases of all, letting go of the fantasy that someone will change if you wait long enough, love hard enough, or explain clearly enough. You have a choice, and your body is ready to guide you forward. My body is wise. I listen. Chapter 7. Release the fantasy that they will change. Hope can be beautiful, and hope can be dangerous. Hope becomes harmful when it delays truth. That's the line. Not all hope is bad, but the kind of hope that keeps you waiting, waiting for consistency, waiting for accountability, waiting for basic respect, that hope slowly erodes you. Because while you're hoping, you're not living in reality. You are living in potential. You stay for potential, not reality. Read that again. You stay for potential, not reality. You stay for who they could be, for who they are sometimes, for the version of them that appears just enough to keep you invested. And every time that version shows up, hope reignites. See? They care. This time feels different. Maybe now they understand. And when things slide back, as they usually do, you tell yourself to be patient, to be compassionate, to give it more time. Time becomes the excuse, but time does not change patterns. Only awareness and action do. That's the key. Acceptance is not resignation, it is liberation. Acceptance is not giving up. It is not approving. It is not excusing. Acceptance is seeing clearly. It is saying, this is what is happening, not what might happen. Not what should happen. What is happening. And when you accept reality, something powerful occurs. The tug of war ends. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop bargaining with the future. You stop sacrificing the present for a promise that keeps moving. That relief you feel when you finally stop hoping. That's your nervous system exhaling, because waiting for someone to change keeps your body in a constant state of tension. Always alert, always scanning, always bracing for disappointment. That's not love, that's endurance. And endurance is not a requirement for connection. You don't need their permission to stop waiting. Say that again. You don't need their permission. Many people fear acceptance because they think it means loss. And yes, there is loss. Grief clears space for self-respect. That's the part no one tells you. When you release the fantasy, grief shows up. You grieve the future you imagined. You grieve the effort you invested. You grieve the version of the relationship you hoped into existence. That grief is not weakness. It is honesty. And honesty restores dignity. When you grieve, you stop chasing. When you grieve, you stop proving. When you grieve, you come home to yourself. You realize how much energy you were spending trying to make something work that required you to contort. That realization can hurt, but it also frees you. Because now your energy returns to you. You have a choice. You can keep hoping against evidence, or you can honor what is. Repeat this phrase slowly. I honor what is, not what could be. Again, I honor what is, not what could be. Honoring what is does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop lying to yourself. It means you stop postponing your life. It means you stop measuring your worth by someone else's capacity to change. Here is a grounding truth. If someone wanted to change, they would already be showing you consistent movement, not occasional promises. Patterns tell the truth. Words decorate it. That's the key. Look at what repeats. Look at what stays the same. Look at what requires you to keep lowering the bar. That information matters, and you are allowed to act on it. You don't need a dramatic ending. You don't need a perfect explanation. You don't need closure from them. Closure comes from clarity, and clarity comes from acceptance. As this chapter closes, hold this takeaway with steadiness. Releasing the fantasy is not losing love. It is choosing truth. And truth is the foundation of self-respect. In the next chapter, we will take everything you've seen so far and turn it inward. We will talk about what it means to choose self-trust over emotional chaos, to stop outsourcing your safety, to stop doubting your knowing, to become the steady presence you've been waiting for. You have a choice, and honoring what is how that choice becomes real. I honor what is, not what could be. Chapter 8. Choose self-trust over emotional chaos. There comes a moment when everything shifts. Not because someone else changes, not because the relationship suddenly improves, but because you do something different. Healing begins when you side with yourself. That's the moment. Not halfway, not cautiously, not conditionally. You side with yourself. For a long time, you may have been split. Part of you knew something was wrong. Part of you kept pushing that knowing down. You doubted your perceptions. You overrode your instincts. You told yourself to wait, to try harder, to be more patient. That internal split is exhausting, and emotional chaos feeds on it. Because when you don't trust yourself, you stay alert, hypervigilant, always watching, always scanning, always anticipating shifts in tone, mood, or availability. Self-trust replaces hypervigilance. That's the key. When you trust yourself, you don't have to monitor everything. You don't have to read between every line. You don't have to decode silence or chase reassurance. You know that if something feels wrong, you will respond. If something crosses a line, you will act. If something no longer fits, you will adjust. That knowing creates calm. And calm is unfamiliar when chaos has been your baseline. So let's be clear. Choosing self-trust does not mean you never feel fear. It means fear no longer makes decisions for you. You feel it, you acknowledge it, and you still choose yourself. You have a choice. You can continue outsourcing your safety to someone else's behavior, or you can become your own steady ground. Becoming your own ground is what boundaries are about. Boundaries are acts of love toward the self. Say that again. Boundaries are acts of love toward the self. They are not punishments. They are not threats. They are not attempts to control another person. They are declarations of self-respect. A boundary says, "This is where I end," and you begin. It says, "This is what I am available for." It says, "This is what I am no longer willing to carry." When you trust yourself, boundaries become simpler. You don't over-explain. You don't negotiate endlessly. You don't wait for permission. You state. You follow through. You adjust. That consistency builds something powerful inside you. Integrity. Integrity is when your actions align with your knowing. And integrity creates peace. Peace is the new measure of truth. That's the shift. Not intensity. Not chemistry. Not urgency. Peace. If something pulls you out of your center over and over again, it is not aligned, no matter how familiar it feels. Peace doesn't mean absence of emotion. It means absence of chronic self-betrayal. When you choose self-trust, you stop abandoning yourself in small ways. You stop replying when you don't have the energy. You stop agreeing when your body says no. You stop staying silent to avoid discomfort. Those small choices accumulate. And slowly, your nervous system learns something new. I am safe with myself. That's the foundation of every healthy relationship. Not being chosen, not being approved, but being anchored in your own truth. You don't need their permission to choose peace. Say it again. You don't need their permission. Some people will resist this version of you. The version that doesn't over-explain. The version that doesn't chase. The version that doesn't stay in confusion. That resistance is information, not a command. You are not responsible for how others respond to your self-trust. You are responsible for honoring it. Repeat this phrase slowly, with intention. I choose clarity. I choose peace. Again, I choose clarity. I choose peace. Clarity simplifies. Peace stabilizes. And together they change everything. As this chapter closes, hold this takeaway firmly. Self-trust is not something you wait for. It is something you practice. Every time you listen to yourself, every time you honor your boundary, every time you choose peace over chaos. In the final chapter, we will bring everything together. We will talk about integration, about living this truth daily, about becoming the steady presence you once looked for in others. You have a choice, and choosing self-trust is choosing a different life. I choose clarity. I choose peace. Closing, integration, and call to action. Take a breath, not a forced one, not a rushed one, a real breath. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw soften. Feel your feet on the ground. This is where we integrate. Emotional sabotage survives in silence and self-doubt. It survives when you question yourself more than the situation, when you override your body, when you explain instead of listen, when you shrink instead of stand. But awareness interrupts the cycle. That's the turning point. Awareness slows the pattern down. Awareness brings choice back online. Awareness reminds you that you are not powerless. You were conditioned. You are not too sensitive. You are perceptive. You notice shifts. You feel undercurrents. You sense when something is off. That is not a flaw. That is intelligence. You are not difficult. You are awakening. Awakening to what costs you peace. Awakening to what requires self-betrayal. Awakening to the truth that love should not confuse you. Healing does not rush. Healing remembers. It remembers your body. It remembers your voice. It remembers the part of you that knew before you learned to doubt it. This work is not about perfection. It is about presence, moment by moment, choice by choice. So here is your invitation. Pause, breathe, feel your feet on the ground, and carry one phrase with you today. Not as a mantra to force, but as a reminder to return to. Say it quietly now. I do not abandon myself. Again, I do not abandon myself. Let that phrase guide small decisions. Let it interrupt old habits. Let it anchor you when confusion tries to pull you back. And when confusion returns, and it will at times, return here. Return to this audiobook. Return to your breath. Return to yourself. Each time you listen, you choose yourself again. You have a choice, and you are already choosing. Stay with that.